subscriber stream on Thursdays. We're doing game analysis, and everybody is just really welcome here to the stream. Sorry, we're getting just underway. A few minutes. It's already 37. We're a few minutes after our scheduled start, but it's been a really busy day for me. I have one thing after another. So we'll be doing this for 2.5 hours. Game analysis with the subscribers. Welcome everybody. So we have some games submitted already, and it's an easier way to do it. Hello, how are you? Our mascots, Chess, Micro, and Macro Panda. Hello, hello, hello. I don't really have an identity yet. This Panda does not have much of a personality yet. Panda is in Budapest, our original co-host and cohort. Astrobate, Spectacular Camel, good to see you guys. We're working on the list of subscriber games for today. So I've got Astrobate down, Artie, Fufkin, Yabatis. So both of you guys are early on the list. Nefedov, Ludwig, Merle Dixon. That's it for yet. Can I say that? That's it for yet. I think that's all the submissions we have thus far. I said Nefedov, right? Yeah. Only like 6. So we got room for more to go. Myrtle's here. I don't know if Nefedov is here yet. A6 Goldsmith. What are you guys talking about? Astrobate just subscribed with a tier 3 sub. He subscribed for a year now. 12 months in a row. The stream didn't alert and isn't showing up on my followed channels. It is a soft ban. Well, are the other players getting alerted? Can anybody confirm our worst fears that our alerts are not showing up? JCS, did you get an alert? Welcome. Did anybody else get alerted that my stream had started? Because I did start late, Bob. You may have caught me just starting late. I feel like I've got an echo going on in here. We started a little bit late at 37. So I'm going to start the game analysis in a moment. Just kind of getting myself together. Getting my coffee ready here. JCS got an alert. So he's afraid, Bob is afraid that he's got a soft ban. This has been promoted by the conspiracy theorist. Is that Spectacular Camel? The various bans you've incurred. Maybe you have like a general like Twitch ban or something going on. Ludwig AC. So thanks again to, once again, I didn't finish what I was saying. Astrobate's tier 3 sub. We have a record number of subs, and I'm really thrilled that you guys, actually a large part due to Merle Dixon gifting people subs. I think we surpassed our record. But it's good to see a tier 3 sub. You guys can sub to tier 2, tier 3 to get the multiple. Spectacular Camel, we know you're just trolling, dude. Just soft trolling. With a soft ban. You guys can get all 3 emotes. If you do tier 2, you get 2. Obviously, if you do tier 3, you get all 3. Astrobate can show off all the emotes. Sladgie, the Joker. Panda Sladgie, and Sladgie God Mode. Alright, Ludwig, you did submit a game. So everybody who submitted a game is here except for, well, maybe Artie's here. And Nefedov will probably be along a little bit later. We're going to get started then with Astrobate's submission. Speaking of, let me just straighten my computer. Let me make sure that our stream is working properly. Yesterday there was talk of lag. Hopefully I won't leave the analysis engine on, you know, like crazy long, so that it starts doing super lagging my stream. So Nils just resubscribed. He subscribed for 6 months in a row. Something is like ringing when I talk. Hello? Yeah, there's like a ringing. That's really weird. But I can't figure out what's making this echo sound. Hello? No, that time it didn't happen. Alright. So, Anyway, I'm just getting my game on here, guys. Gita B. What's up? Gita B. Nils just resubscribed with 6 months in a row, and that's awesome. Thank you, guys. Cheers, Gita B. The little pandas are here, Gita B. Hello. Hello, wherever you are. Okay, I know I'm weird. A lot of people think I'm weird. That's normal. We've got 16 viewers. I'm going to get started with Asturbate's first game. Well, the first game, which happens to be Asturbate's game. I don't know. I think it's my coffee cup. It's like vibrating or something. Maybe. Hello, coffee cup. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea, Bob, for you to date a girl whose father works at the FBI. They'll look up all your history of being a troll. Alright, guys. Asturbate was black. Here. I think this was it. So this is Asturbate versus Fran88. Just reminded me of this crazy guy who was in my freshman year dormitory. They hired a stripper for my birthday. Not often you go to college and someone does that. But anyways, that's something I can't talk about on the stream. Fran tried to start a limousine business while he was living in our dormitory. Very strange. Alright, so Fran88 against Asturbate. They both have 8s at the end of their name, and they both have 6-letter names. Very, very strange coincidence there. Fran is white, Asturbate is black. Alright, so we got getting our analysis started, guys. If you want to submit a game for the weekly subscriber stream going on now, you can just send me a message here on lichess to Sparkle Horse, my account. So we're going to get underway as I get my brain in gear. So E4, no, D4. I like how this has been analyzed by Stockfish, and it says, I'll turn off the engine. Is this freezing my stream already? D4, B6. Dubious. Was this like your phone, Stockfish, Asturbate? Can I just ask you, like, right off the bat, is that like phone analysis? It's a little, like, brutal to say that B6 is dubious. I think that's a little too harsh. D4, B6, Knight F3, dubious. I'd like to meet this annotator. So basically, if you don't make the perfect move, like, let's say, mathematically, you're, like, making a questionable move. It's a little bit too strict. According to Asturbate, it's an iPad Stockfish. So I think that's a little over the top. You know, I could see, like, maybe the Dutch defense would be dubious, but, like, B6, it's a pretty constructive move. Alright, so Knight F3, Bishop B7. I mean, I will confess that I did always myself consider the Owen defense to be on the margins as far as, you know, playability and soundness, but it's not like he played F6 or H5 on move 1. Okay, Bishop B7, so E3. Well, what can you do? If white doesn't want to play aggressively, you can't force him to do anything. And this could transpose to a Queen's Indian. If black's going to be playing, you know, Knight F6, so the next move is, I think, very natural for black. If you want to be aggressive here, Asturbate, you could try to turn it into a Dutch type of thing, but I'm not sure you're really comfortable with that type of structure. But I think that F5 is justified. I'm surprised that no one's played that in this position. Particularly after the quiet move E3, I would think that F5 would be more justifiable. But instead, Asturbate plays E6, and now the terrible move Knight to C3. Really, there's not so many moves for white. I mean, Bishop D3, Bishop E2, maybe B3, and Knight on BD2, and C4. Of course, C4 is objectively like white's best move. Alright. Knight C3, really bad move, blocking in the C pawn on C2. I think it's a horrible move. That should get a dubious. Like, really. It should definitely get a dubious. Here's your next chance to play f5. Get the maximum control of e4 that you can physically get by playing the move f5 here. Particularly valid. Because if white tries to do something crazy like d5, I don't think he can maintain that point. And otherwise, he'll have to strive to play e4, but you can shut him down at every turn. If bishop d3, knight f6. If queen e2, you play bishop b4. It's very much like a Nimzo-Indian, a cross between a Nimzo-Indian and a Winnoware French. You just do everything to keep control of the vital e4 square. If you lost control of that, white is better. But if you don't lose control of e4, then I think that black has at least an equal game. So focus on that. Nothing wrong with the what you did here. Knight f6 now, bishop b5, a silly move. Of course, he should strive for bishop d3 and e4. That's what I'm talking about. And then maybe you have to play d5 to stop him. It's up to you. Welcome everyone to my stream. We're analyzing subscriber games here on lichess and Twitch. I'm International Master William Pascal from Budapest and Massachusetts, USA. At the moment, I'm in the USA, guys. Bishop b5, weird move. I don't understand what white's doing. He has to play bishop d3. Now the question is here, Asterbate, what would you do? You could play a number of moves, like d5, just straight up take the center. Bishop b4, trying to prevent him from playing e4, or maybe c5, turning it into a form of the Sicilian. But I think at this point you have to make sure that you're striving for control of the center in one way or another. I mean, something like bishop e7, for example, would be a little bit passive. I mean, I think after that you actually have a kind of bad, rather passive version of the Owen defense. And that's something we should be wary about. So anyway, he played bishop b5. This does nothing. And here we have a6. I mean, a6 is not a bad move. You're also not obliged to play it. Mr. Coffee, good to see you. Thanks, guys, for subscribing to the stream. I had a couple resubscriptions. Nils and Asterbate with the tier 3 sub. Here is one of those cases where I think this piece is misplaced, and you played a6, and maybe that's a good move. But objectively, should you attack a piece that's not well placed? I mean, in a sense, you could say to yourself, okay, my opponent just put this bishop on b5, bishop. That it's not in the right position. It's vulnerable to being attacked, but at the same time, do we want to attack it right away? Maybe we want to like wait and hope that we can find some way to exploit it later on. So in other words, leave it in a weird position so that maybe later on, you can take advantage of it. A lot of people, and like Asterbate is here, trying to be like immediate gratification. So we just play a6, But the problem is a6, okay, it's not that useful of a move. He should go back to where he should have been in the first place. And that's another problem with a6. Are we forcing him to make a good move? Essentially. Hey, you put your bishop on the wrong square. Put it on the right square. Maybe there's an argument that says a6, b5 for you, b5, b4. No, it's stuttering is my specialty, but b5, b4, yeah, okay. He plays this, though, practically trapping his own bishop. And then a very sneaky move from Asterbate. I like this Noah's Ark trap. The oldest trap in chess. It's called the Noah's Ark trap. Essentially a form of the Noah's Ark trap where we're going to like delay trap that bishop with b5 and c4. You have a bad habit of chasing pieces badly placed to better squares. Yeah. Just attacking pieces for the sake of attacking them because A, it's aggressive, and B, it's like immediate gratification. I think immediate gratification is a human tendency, and we can see it a lot that we need to keep the tension in the game to get the maximum from our advantages. But here, Asterbate was tricky, and he set this up, and his opponent fell into it. But it's not so easy for him to not fall into it. He probably has to take on c5 here, which is really not ideal for white. He's going to be giving up his strong point on the center, in the center with d takes c. And in that case, you can recapture either way, with bishop or with the pawn, I think with a good game. So he falls for a form of the Noah's Ark trap here with b5, and white has to lose basically 2 pawns. I mean, a piece for 2 pawns. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So he should probably take with the knight and keep the bishop, but he takes with the bishop, keeps the knight, and he has literally no threats. I mean, it looks like there might be some sort of threats, but realistically, he's got no other pieces developed, so... This is a point where Astrobate should just start being like, okay, what's the nearest way to the door? I just want to trade pieces and win this game. But he starts fishing. He starts fishing now with knight e4. Sir, your king is in the middle of the board and you're up a piece. Let's just complete our development and win the game. I mean, the easiest move to play here is probably bishop a6. Pin it and win it. And maybe something like queen b6. I don't know. You know, that's just one solution. You know, you can make any kind of moves. d5. But this move looks like, okay, he's trying to guard against knight d6 in a sense. But be careful not to go wandering around without developing the rest of your pieces. By showing a game which he won, wouldn't it be better to show a game that you lose? This is, well... Padya, this is a very philosophical question. My honest opinion is that I think that they're both useful, and yeah, it depends. But yeah, most people like want to tear up the games they lost. Some people like you know, they just throw away the score sheets and leave them on the table when they lose a game or something. And some people like just to show off their games. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess in a vacuum, I agree with Padya that probably it's better to analyze the games you lost, where you're more likely to gonna learn something. But trust me, Astrobate's wins often have a lot of valuable points where we can learn from it. So here white just helps him develop, and then knight e2, and I'm just screaming for queen g5, which he played here. But the cardinal rule that I'm gonna actually advocate here is don't complicate when you're up material. I think Astrobate has a little bit of an obsession with direct attack, which has served him well in the past, but when you're up a large amount of material, like say a couple of pawns or a piece, the way to win is without any risk, because you already have like a winning position. You shouldn't be taking risks. And here he's allowing some, you know, kind of crazy check, and now the black king has to lose his safety. So I mean, he's hoping for something like this, like say check, king d8, knight takes a8. I'm getting some lag here. King d8, knight takes a8, knight takes d2. I'm playing for mate on g2. So, would white have a defense here? A way not to lose immediately. Kind of hard to see. Perhaps there's some defense. I mean, probably he's got e4. But e4 allows bishop takes e4, actually. That's pretty nasty. So, but in general, I wouldn't recommend creating complications. Basically, Astrobate should just castle and be up a piece and win the game technically. Magnus wouldn't do this. Queen g5. So knight check, king d8. I don't know what's wrong with king d8. I mean, am I missing something here? We could turn on the stockfish. I didn't like to turn it on. Oh, apparently there is a defense. Knight f3. See, this is the monkey wrench in the situation that we didn't see. Suddenly, black's queen's attacked, and now our king is out in the middle of the board. I mean, I don't know where he intended on putting his king. Maybe he would have put it on e7, but I thought attacking the knight made sense. But the practical lesson to be taken from this, again, is like when you're up material, you have a winning position. Isn't the time to start going for crazy attacks? You know, just win the game based on your material advantage. I know it's not very enthralling, but... So now he has a pretty win. And this is very beautiful. He specializes in beautiful mates. The classic. It's more common in the King's Indian. Very, very nice, Asterbate. Good job. But again, I think the practical lesson to be taken away from this is like when you're up material, don't complicate. You know, just the opposite should be true. Like when you're down material or you're otherwise losing, then you complicate. When you're winning or you're up material, you avoid complications. Try to keep that in mind. Welcome everybody to my stream, International Master Will Pascal. We are going to be doing like mostly game analysis here with our subscribers. But even if you're not a subscriber, stay tuned. It's very instructive. A lot of people just get hooked on playing chess and they don't really spend time analyzing their games. But if you want to improve, analyzing games is absolutely essential, probably the most important thing for your overall development. Like world champion Botvinnik said, the analysis of one's own games is probably like the single most important effort that you need to make in order to concretely improve your game. And those are not his exact words, but I'm paraphrasing Botvinnik's theory about, self-analysis of one's own games. I think there was a quote to that effect here on lichess.org. Okay, Artie Fufkin is up next. Let's take a look at this. These guys are all subscribers. Subscribers, as a reward for subscribing, I give them a chance to submit a game to the stream to analyze here live. JCS says, what? There are 3 types of good moves. Forcing moves that either improve your position or weaken your opponent. So read and learn from Mr. JCS there. Forcing moves. Charles Hertan was here today. Alright. Artie Fufkin. A game from a book I'm currently reading. Dangerous Weapons, the Benoni and the Banco. Okay. Bishop F7 check. Bishop sack is the weapon. Alright, let's take a look, guys. Van Weasel. It's Rudy. I just had a strange headache. Okay, Rudy Van Weasel against Christopher Ward. Import 2005, 7/18. So that's just the time, you just put this in here. So this is from a tournament in 2005. Christopher Ward is a grandmaster, I believe an English grandmaster. The other guy, I don't know. A lesser FIDE master-ish rating. Assuming like these are FIDE ratings, this guy's not bad, 23-27. Masturbates like made up names. I'm just making fun of the guy, I'm sorry. Van Wessel. My 7th grade science teacher called me the Weasel. That I didn't think was very nice. Alright. So Rudy Van Weesel versus Christopher Ward. We're gonna take a look here. Let me turn off this engine. It's probably frozen my stream. Oh no. I turned it on too long. It has a tendency to like freeze up the stream when I leave the chess engine on too long. Hopefully we're good. We're alright though. Welcome guys. Take a look. Join us. Pull up a chair. We're analyzing some games here. This is a game submitted by Artie Fufkin from this Benoni Banco book. So, okay, knight f3, it's like one of those moves that drives people crazy who try to play sharp openings. When you play the Benoni, the Banco, you're not really hoping that somebody plays knight f3. After c4, you're at least happy they're not playing the London system or something like that. Did he really call you the Weasel? Yeah, this guy, Mr. David. Yeah. He literally started calling me the Weasel. Half through 7th grade science class. I think it was 7th grade. Pretty sure it was 7th grade. Okay, so c4, c5, d5. Yeah, most people don't have the guts to play d5. At least here, not on lichess. But so Christopher Ward played the Blumenfeld. Yeah, ironically, this isn't a Benoni or a Benko, but it's actually a Blumenfeld, which I actually did a video series, DVD, for the chess world last year. I wouldn't buy it to support me. Guys, don't go out and buy it to support me, because I don't get like a profit from more copies being sold. But if you want it because it's a good, I worked hard on it, and I think I did a good job in a short video series teaching the fundamentals of and a repertoire really for the Blumenfeld. Go out and get it. It's not bad. B5, but now white takes. F takes, and then C takes B5. So this is a critical variation. I lost to Laszlo Ganda last year. I was on tilt in a GM tournament in Budapest. I lost 2 games and got paired with Ganda, who's a very, very solid grandmaster. Very, very good technically. Very, very good in boring positions. And I was just coming off of losing 2 games, and I decided to play the Blumenfeld, which I had been working on the DVD. But the problem with it was that Ganda plays the Blumenfeld, and it wasn't really a good idea to play an opening that the guy actually knows. He actually played himself with black, so it was something of a tilt decision to play something despite the fact that I know that Laszlo himself plays the Blumenfeld. It was just a dumb thing to do. Anyway, it was still a good game. It's still interesting. But black can play other moves than d5 here. You can play a6 and bishop b7. I actually prefer these moves to play a6 and bishop b7. What's up, Jim? Welcome, guys. So, anyways, okay, this is just a game that he wanted to go over. So d5 is the main line. I'd like a6 and bishop b7 with the possible, maybe d5 later. So here white has a lot of different moves. I mean, the main line is actually g3. The computer, whoever analyzed this said knight c3. The best move was knight c3. I don't know what the best move is, theoretically. Knight c3 is pretty interesting. Baleful, good to see you. Thanks everybody for joining me. So white instead plays knight on bd2. Now, I don't think this is a bad move for white. You see it was played by David Navarra. One of the main ideas, ironically, because black has good control of e4, is to play for e4 at some point. Even if it means you might have to temporarily sacrifice a pawn. Now, I almost lost a game against Artie Fufkin. Very, very nasty game in last week's simul in this opening, where I tried to play e4, but I ended up with problems because I put my knight on, I believe, g5, and it almost ended up getting trapped or something like that. So the timing of that is really essential. But anyways, okay. So bishop e7. This way this bishop won't be attacked by e4, e5. But I'm not certain about this move. Like the choice of bishop e7. My preference is actually to play not d5, but to play like bishop b7 first. Keep piece pressure on the... Yeah, that's a nice diagonal. Keep piece pressure on the e4 point without actually playing d5 until maybe later. Another interesting move is a6, because we're going to grab that with the rook in many cases rather than with the bishop, depending on the circumstances. Like, you don't have to take back right away. You could possibly play d5 here, and if white opts for a fianchetto, you can later recapture here with the rook on a6, keeping the bishop for defending e6 or going to some other square. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Anyway, this is a bit of an unusual move. Knight on bd2. Bishop e7. I'm not sure about this choice here. Bishop e7. It's okay. g3. Castles. Really, there's no theoretical, knowledge here. So Chris Ward now plays queen b6. I guess his idea is to induce a4 and then follow up with a6. There's something very artificial about black putting his queen on, say, b5. Something relatively artificial about it. I mean, so white could hold on to this pawn with a4. And ultimately, we try to break it up with a6. And then when you give it up, now we have several good options. Taking with the knight, coming in here to b4. Taking with the bishop to control this diagonal. That would really be... I think the knight captures, to me, makes the most sense. Bishop. Basically, we take with the bishop, I mean, white castles, and eventually maybe something like rook e1. You still see there's still a connection here, potentially between the queen and the rook. So, oh, this is an interesting game by Ward, though. I think the key move was knight on bd2, which it's not very aggressive. With knight c3, he has more options. All right. I mean, instead of knight on bd2, maybe something like b3 here. Actually, b3 now makes a lot of sense. He played castles, queen takes. Yeah, the one game where white won in this position, white played b3, which is an extremely normal move. To play b3 and bishop to b2. Gregor Gajewski. I didn't mean to do that, excuse me. So, this move makes some sense, e4. Try to stir up the structure. But this is a more solid move, as you can see, b3. And what does black do now? You know, I mean, I really don't know how black plays this in this position. I was thinking about a5, a4, possibly. But white has very comfortable development with b2. So, that's clearly, you know, this was played in this game, but I don't really know what this does. You know, bishop a6, okay. Rook e1. White, in this case, played knight g5, which was interesting. But even if white just played rook e1, I mean, does this really make sense? What does that do? You know, bishop a6, queen b5, forcing white to make a relatively useful move. And at 2, there's not much pressure, so white played e4 now. Golko versus Gregorian. Is this... There's an Oliver Mihawk game. I had a little bit of influence in Budapest because I started playing the Blumenfeld in the tournaments there a lot between 2000, say 2006, 2007. And then some other players picked it up, you know, because it was trendy and because I was playing it. I think Gonda, and then here we see Mihawk played it. But if you go back here, Karen Gregorian, this is an old game in 1974. And he was one of the first grandmasters to kind of experiment with this Budapest. Budapest, I want to keep saying because I'm talking about Budapest. He was one of the first players, this Golko Gregorian game, to play the Blumenfeld back in the mid-70s. You didn't see it very commonly. But anyways, okay, e4, knight c6, rook e1, and now c4. And this is actually following the Mihawk game followed Chris Ward game. So Oliver is a grandmaster now. He actually has an account here on lichess.org. Very nice guy. I like him. E takes d5, e takes d5, presumably. Black will play. But white played h3 now in the stem game. Afraid of knight g4, but h3 is a very scared move. So it looks like Kunin played e takes d5. This is slow. And then Ward. Chris Ward was a good... Well, he's still around, I guess. I don't know if he still plays chess, but this is a very obvious kind of pressurizing move. Nice. Just kind of goes to the flow. And then e5. And this pawn center is looking really strong. I mean, black isn't playing a pawn down like you would in a... You would play in a gambit or something. White played the accepted, Blumenfeld accepted, but gave the pawn back. So we essentially have a equal material position where the black center just looks extremely strong. White is misplayed. Too many slow moves. Knight d2, now h3, and Ward just sacks a piece here. But I'm sure you don't have to make the sacrifice. If you go and look at the engine, Just a routine move here, knight to d7 is the #1 suggestion of Stockfish. I'm not surprised in the least. I mean, black's position is so good that you really don't need to sacrifice a piece in this position. So I'm absolutely not surprised that this move by Ward, it's fun, it's interesting, but it may not even be the best move in reality. Bishop takes f2 check. He could have just, talking about tension earlier, he could have probably equally like just not sacked the piece and kept a massive advantage. Bishop takes, king takes, queen check, king f1, and you can see the f file is exceedingly dangerous here. Threatening mate in 1 is always a good thing. Now white found a way out of the mate in 1. Beautiful mate in 1. So, is there any other move in this position for white? Feels like there should be another move somehow, but what? Knight e4? What's white's other option here? Literally, there's no other move. Guys, feel free to jump in and help me here. Don't be shy to make a suggestion. We're getting a lot of interactive suggestions. We gotta be more interactive, kids. Wake up. We're not all here to just chat about sex. I mean, basically, we're here to analyze chess. Someone suggested rook e2. Thank you. Z Fox we can always count on for serious suggestions. I appreciate that. Another guy was Mozart. You gotta give up material here. I mean, you're losing the pawn anyway, so. Rook e2, valid suggestion. Rook e2, knight takes g3 check, king e1. And now black has 2 pawns for the piece, and he's going for more. Great attack for black. But you'll see here, look at the graph. At one point, white's alright in the oncoming of the game. So here, takes, king g2. Maybe this is the best defense. So at this point, Chris has... it's kind of scary, but Ward has literally like 1 pawn for a piece at this point. I mean, black's pieces aren't exactly in the game, and the white pieces are certainly not in the game. Sides are basically playing without those pieces, the queen's bishop and queen's rook. But at the moment, I mean, Chris has these strong pawns, but I mean, can he open up the long diagonal for that? Can he take on h1, open up the long diagonal? It's scary to do this, because you're like, you're down a whole piece and you're trading pieces. But if you look at the position for a while, you realize this is a brilliant decision by Chris. I mean, taking the long diagonal, you're saying, like, look, there's nothing you're going to do about that factor in this position, the long diagonal. And if you think about it, look at white's pieces that I was just talking about. So Chris Ward gets his pieces in, and the white pieces cannot get in. Here, 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 and it's clear. It's not really a combinational, like, smash him up, checkmate him, brute force style. It's almost like a strategic sacrifice. Like he's saying, look, I'm down a piece, but your pieces can't play. You know, so it's just like, I don't even have to calculate. I just know I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces working, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and you've got 2 pieces that don't work. So, as long as you can't block this diagonal, there's just no way that white's going to survive here. But Ward must have made a mistake at some point, because the graph drops off. Suddenly, white's threatening mate in 1. So he found a little bit of counterplay. And this is apparently a blunder. Plunder. But it would have taken some kind of move that's superhuman here. Well, d4. I mean, d4 is something that we've got to consider, because that's superhuman but super logical as well. So actually going down a full rook with knight takes f5. Knight takes e5 check. Good luck with that. My goodness. For example, like king here, rook takes f5. Black is down a rook. I mean, this would be an excellent example. If I had seen this game, I would have thought, okay, this is a perfect example for my Blumenfeld video series. This game that I didn't really play through. You're down a rook for 3 pawns, but Black has complete initiative with all the pieces. Ward blundered, I guess. He played rook back to f7, and now White's, according to the computer, White's okay now. Though I'm not sure he's fully okay. I mean, it's close to okay, apparently. So now eventually he played d4. I mean, I guess Black was always a little bit better, but according to the engine, let me turn off this engine. According to the engine, White was close to holding on there with best play. Though you'd really need to run this through an engine with a deeper analysis. And so now, at this point, he played a nice combination here that doesn't work, apparently. There's no guarantee Black's going to win. But I don't trust the engine. Chris here sacrificed, what, 2 exchanges or something? Wow. How does this even work? So you've got knight takes e5, okay. And then queen f4. Wow, that's incredible. And White just blundered now. So he had some sort of reckless save. He could have played king to g2. According to the engine, this holds on. But who knows, really, what would have been going on if we let Stockfish analyze like 20 or 25 moves deep. e5, the computer wants to play. A rook. Well, how much are we down now? A rook and the exchange. That's a pretty awesome position. We're down a rook and the exchange for 2 pawns. 3 pawns. A rook in the exchange for 3 pawns. Basically, we have a knight and 3 pawns for 2 rooks. Pretty crazy. Alright, so it was a back and forth struggle typical of like a Blumenfeld, and then White just like fell apart. We take the whole rook on g1, so now Black has just down the exchange, but the massive pawns, there's 1 check, and he goes into an endgame. And this is Chris Ward, who plays the dragon, by the way. So Chris Ward, who plays the dragon, regularly sacrificing like the exchange, for example, on the black side of dragons. For him, this position is like money in the bank. To play in dragon endgames where you sack the exchange for a pawn or something, this is just like even better than that kind of endgame. Imagine these powerful pawns united in the center for a mere exchange. White's just completely winning. So this is winning. These pawns are just winning here. Beautiful position. The black king is excellent. Yeah, I mean, right there, I was thinking in this position after bishop c5, I would play like king e6, but I think he's afraid of White returning the exchange. Rook takes f3, e takes f3, bishop takes d4. We might reach some kind of obstacle or bishop endgame where it's actually a draw. So it's cutting it a little close here. And the white king's starting to get pretty active. Probably it's winning for black, but it's not that simple. One would assume that the players were in some time pressure. Bishop f8 question mark. And now knight to d4. Oh, that's horrible. So bishop takes h6 loses a piece to knight f5 check. Now black's just going to play knight f5 check no matter what, and then the pawn just advances to e3. So it's resignable. That was a great game. A very classic kind of Blumenfeld. So I guess Artie is taking us up on the Blumenfeld. Also played a nice game against me in the last final, as I mentioned. Alright. Yabatis is up next. And then we're going to do Nefedov's game after that. Where is Yabatis? There it is. This is it. This is my lesson message. Where's Ubatis' game submission? Ubatis, did you submit a game? All right, let's do Nefedov's, and then we'll check with Ubatis if he did submit a game or not. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Ubatis didn't submit a game. Okay, any of these two games against you. This is Nefedov. We'll do first. It's interesting to know why you chose these systems against me, and psychology behind your choice. Rufus and Doofus is hosting. Thank you, guys. Oh, you submitted a game early. Okay, we'll check that out next. Well, Nefedov, as far as choosing, let's choose the dragon game because that's much more interesting. We did this. The other game was kind of boring. I played a boring system against a Slav. So this is not the first time I've played against Nefedov, the black side of Accelerated Dragon. Actually, this wasn't Accelerated Dragon, sorry. Classical Sicilian. Rufus and Doofus are two people. It makes sense. Rufus and Doofus, thanks for the host. We could use all the hosting we can get. We're up to 43 viewers now. People, a lot of people think that analyzing games is boring, but I think this is the best and most constructive stream that I do every week as far as teaching and helping people to improve. It's a title, We Are One Person. According to Rufus, maybe he just has multiple personality. I mean, it's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all right. We have Dr. Nefedov and Mr. Hyde. So, Count Nefedov and Dr. Hyde. E4, C5, knight f3, d6. Nefedov says, I've got 100 euros of food in front of me. That's scary. You're not going to waste your money on food, just simply engorging yourself. Seems like such a waste. Alright, so d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3. And so Nefedov plays bishop e2, and he's been doing this religiously against me. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with this move, bishop to e2. A single tin of caviar, Actually, there was a Ukrainian poker player who used to come to our home game in Budapest, Sergey. And he brought some caviar one time. And everybody was kind of like, well, that's too fancy for a home poker game. But let's see, g6. Well, Nefedov plays the white side of the Scheveningen really, really well. And so, for me, it's a no-brainer. I play g6. And he's asking me why, psychologically, do I choose to play this system? Well, I mean, the classical Sicilian is like one of my, if not my main defense to e4. But the main reason why I play this again and again against Nefedov is because the way he plays here. Yeah, you're exactly like Sergey Nefedov. He speaks Russian and not much English. You're a little better in the English department. But here... Okay, so Nefedov plays bishop e3. When I learned chess at the Pioneer's Palace, knight b3 was the main move. This is considered to be the way to play the white side of the, the standard way to play the white side of the, what's it called, classical dragon. You play knight to b3, you avoid exchanges of pieces, then you castle kingside here with white. And there are different systems you can employ. You can play bishop g5. You can play bishop e3. You can not move the bishop and play king h1. Lots of different systems. You can play f4. But Nefedov instead plays a different line here that was always like kind of dismissed by theory for the most part, which is like bishop e3 right away. Now bishop g7. Okay, we got bishop e3 right away. Okay, so... we can forget about knight b3, bishop g5, for example, now for white, which is, I think, the best system in the classical dragon. I've also played that with white on the stream. Knight b3 and bishop g5, almost hands down the best system for white. He's now no longer got that option. So he plays here. Actually, this is kind of maybe an unusual move order. Don't you normally play queen d2 here, Nefedov? I would think like if you're not going to play knight b3, you should probably play queen d2. And I would swear you played that against me before. And I know that there are some games. It's some of the scenes that have this. You got Carlsen here. So there's a little bit of a trend going on with this becoming some sort of system for white. Personally, I doubt it. I really, really doubt that this offers white much. Theoretically, Magnus can play anything. You know, he could play like d4, e3, bishop d3, f4 with the white pieces, like the Stonewall attack, and probably beat people, you know? I mean, he could literally play anything. So the fact that Magnus won with this doesn't necessarily mean it's a great system for white. I think that what basically Nefedov is getting, though, after f3, which is a move I don't understand. Can you say which system is best against the Sicilian Dragon? Well, I mean, Ludwig AC, I mean, against the Sicilian Dragon, you know, I'm not playing the proper dragon here. I'm only playing it against bishop e2, which isn't particularly dangerous for black. The best system against the Sicilian Dragon is something with f3, bishop e3, and bishop c4, or maybe queen d2. It's a question of whether you play with queenside castles with bishop c4 or without bishop c4. Both systems, you know, are considered the critical lines against the dragon. But Nefedov playing bishop e2 early, he is giving up all his sharpest options against the dragon. No, I think that Nefedov probably played queen d2 in the past. In this game, he chose to play f3, which is, I think, a bad move, really. You notice all of a sudden there's not many games. So, what are we doing here with white? You're playing bishop e2 in... You're now playing bishop e2 in like a Yugoslav attack, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, either you play bishop c4 or you leave the bishop on f1. If you want to play the white side of the Yugoslav attack, you play bishop c4 followed by queen d2 and castles, or you play queen d2 and castles and leave the bishop on f1. Nefedov is playing a hybrid where he's playing bishop e2 as if it's a Yugoslav attack, but this is just a kind of wasted move for white. So that's why I like this system for black. Here, I guess I'm supposed to castle kingside, but I decided to improvise and try something kind of off the wall, which I've done a little bit. Bishop d7. This isn't very common, but it's not a bad move. Castles is standard, and you're saying, okay, Yugoslav attack with bishop e2 is slow. Bishop d7, queen d2, and now I played h5. Now we see here there's a game, but Igor Natov played rook c8. I like that. Maybe I would choose that move if I had to do this over again. But I played h5 right away. It's not objectively like correct for black, but you'll see there's going to be a game by Starostich which pops up here. He's a kind of Latvian player who I met and played in Budapest. He likes to play the dragon with like h5. The so-called here is Chigov against Starostich from 2005. Starostich played this a lot for a long time. Basically, you're playing a kind of dragon without castling, and there's a trend to play h5 in the Najdorf early too. I don't think this is really a great system for black, but it's something just for fun to kind of mix it up. White doesn't get the classic kingside attack. He has to adapt and play something different. I think Nefedov played all right for a while here. h3. He's transposing to this young Ukrainian lady. Rather reasonable player named Katerina Lano. Or Leno, and she's a men's grandmaster, I believe. Very good player. So we're actually transposed to this game, this top women's game. h4, stopping g4, and now f4 was played. But Pavel played a novelty bishop g5, which is a normal idea, but maybe not so good in this position. There's no clear refutation, but the connection to d4 is really, really shaky. I don't have a combination here with knight takes e4 because white can play knight takes c6 intermezzo, and I guess that's just good for white. So I was looking for a tactic, I couldn't find it, so I tried something creative. I played rook h5, and I just had my sights set on sacking the exchange. What? Lino is Russian, not Ukrainian. I was under the crazy assumption that she played for the Ukrainian Federation at some point. Am I mistaken, Pavel? Wasn't she like Karyakin? Weren't they under the Ukrainian Chess Federation for a long time? I know that it's very murky. This is a very murky place to be, you know, politically, like my friend Sergey as well. But I'm just going the old days, right? They were Ukrainians at one point. So rook h5. I mean, I'm not speaking like, you know, racially. What I'm just, your jokes are wasted on me. I know, but I'm just speaking from the Chess Federation standpoint. I think they were Ukrainian. Once I asked Igor Foigl, Igor, wait, you know, you're Ukrainian, right? And he looked at me. He was like, I'm a Jew. I was like, no, I meant like, you know, you consider yourself like Russian or Ukrainian. He's like, I am Jew. Okay. Okay, Igor. All right. Whatever. Okay, rook h5. Knight takes c6 here. Yeah, I like rook h5. It was fun. Then knight takes c6. Yeah. Anyways, he takes on c6. I don't know what white should do here. Is it too late for something like knight to b3 here, Pavel? Like, why don't you just take the knight away from there? You just don't do this. Like, religiously, he refuses to play knight to b3. Can you go back to that position where you played h5? Igor wasted his jokes on me. I don't understand anything. Yeah. I'm too dense, too focused on chess to pick up on the jokes. Don't waste your jokes on me. Bishop g5. So wait, no, there was a question here about chess. Wait, I missed the question. I missed the question about chess. Wait a second. Where did it go? Can you go back to that position where you played h5 so I can take a screenshot? So I want to do some tests with that position. Well, I don't think that h5 sucks. I think that h5, like, if you put into a computer, it'll say it's like the 4th best move or something. It's not that I'm trying to play correctly here. I mean, it's a practical move that's made, you know. But the fact that we transposed to games by Starostich, by Gapanenko, by some very reasonable players, will tell you that the move is reasonable. I mean, I think that the h5 can be played in the normal dragon. Shabalov, you know, Shabalov is another Latvian like Starostich who played h5 sometimes in the dragon. Not always with good results, but if white can play bishop e2, you know, my argument is white can play bishop e2, I can play h5 and not castle, basically. All right. You know, bishop e2 is like a ridiculous move on the white side of... Not a chess thing. Any chance of saying hello? Hello, Mrs. Nefedov. You're here because of her. Thank you, Mrs. Nefedov, for letting him play tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being a kind lady and letting us have Nefedov for this evening. Okay, so letting the count out. Count out. Out for the count. But bishop g5, okay, rook h5 here, and I went crazy. The unnecessary, wait, you'll see this. Rook e1. I mean, the concept of centralizing with like rook e1 and bishop g5 and f4 is very logical. But now Nefedov just like blunders. I mean, he doesn't really have a great move here. Apparently queen e5 was a blunder by me. So Well, that's kind of the plan. I mean, I don't know what else I'm going to play here. Knight d7 never entered my mind. Queen a5 question mark. Well, this is an interesting idea. Opening the diagonal for the bishop on g7. Maybe there's two Mrs. Nefedovs, Bob. There's a young one and an older one. But I think this was the younger Mrs. Nefedov. Okay. So f4. Alright, whatever. Rook a e1, h e1. I played queen a5. I'm surprised to learn that this is a mistake. He missed e5? What? Okay, I'm still kind of confused here. Why is this so bad? Honestly, I don't understand. Like, okay, e5, what does that do? Does anybody understand why this is so bad for black? It must be something to do with f4, which is something that neither of us saw. So d takes e5, I would assume f4, hitting my rook on h5. Now I have to sack the exchange, presumably, and play something like knight to d7. When the odds are the computer will say that I have insufficient compensation for the exchange. In which cases is it okay to the silly dragon to play without castling? What are the ideas in this game? Well, it's kind of a complex question. Most cases you do castle. I mean, it's rare what I'm doing. It's kind of rare. I thought it was justified by his slow bishop e2, f3 type of setup where he's basically made a useless move. So I think it's much riskier to try to do it in the mainline dragon, which people have. As I'm saying, like Shabalov and other players have tried to play the dragon with h5, you know, literally not castling and playing h5. People try to do it with white in the English too. Okay, this is like a computer variation that kind of refutes queen a5. Not easy to see. But he played f4. This is a mistake that, well, Nefedov should have been, you know, he should have been ready for rook takes g5, but what I missed was that I had that in my mind. I could just do the queen sacrifice like straight up. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4. I mean, I saw this idea, but only with the exchange sacrifice. So basically, the idea is to just checkmate in this position or win the queen back. You know, I can win the queen back, right, with a discovered check. But at the end of the line, my rook is hanging in this variation, so we have to take on b2 check here. But I'm afraid in this variation I have nothing more than a draw, right? I mean, I just have to make a rep draw, wouldn't I? Yeah, the Dragendorf, right? JCS is right. So the Dragendorf. Oh, I can take a piece with check. That's nasty. Here, I just take this with check. Kind of forgot about that. That's a serious problem for white. This is particularly nasty. How do you guys like this one? The bishop. I definitely didn't see that idea. I think Nefedov probably had me in time pressure pretty early. I probably spent a lot of time in the early stage of the game and was behind on the clock already. But for some reason, I didn't really consider playing the sacrifice without sacking the exchange first on g5. My friend Emil Salancy, a longtime dragon player, he loves to do things like give up the exchange. I mean, it's still good, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, I'm down an exchange on top of everything else, which creates some technical problems in this position. So bishop takes e4. And now Nefedov unfortunately saw that he's losing if he takes the queen and found the only move, which is a slight problem. You know, I actually missed this, I guess. Or I just assumed I was winning after queen takes a2. You know, I guess that was my problem, that I assumed that queen takes a2 was just like crushing. So it's not. That's the problem. It's good for black, but it's like a study-like position. So after c3, I had this sudden panic that, oh my god, I just missed this and now I'm like worse. And so I was just not prepared for this. I had not seen this far. I think there's a perpetual. There's bishop takes c3, isn't it? This forces a draw. I think that practically I should have played this, just forcing a draw. In the situation, I'm sure that I realized that at this point I might have some kind of perpetual, but I was short of time, and I was very upset psychologically because I thought I was just winning by force. And when he had a defense with c3, I started to kind of psychologically freak out. So I lost my sense of, objectivity, and I certainly didn't see the line that the computer recommends. If you have a lot of objectivity here, you start seeing like this computer line. Bishop takes d3, queen d3, and rook c6, preventing queen d6 and transferring the rook over in some variations. But I mean, this is extremely hard to find, especially if you're in time pressure. So I mean, I'm just not going to find that in a fast time control. Maybe in a long game, I would find playing down the exchange with the move rook c6. I wouldn't know I was clearly better here. Like Stockfish says, I'm clearly better. I have 2 pawns for the exchange. It looks like a standard exchange sacrifice to me. I couldn't find this. So I would have done myself a service by just taking the draw. Basically taking the draw with bishop takes c3. And there's no way to win. Only a draw. B takes c, queen a2, queen a1 check, king c2. And you can look all you want here. But there's no win for black. You just simply have to make a draw by repetition. But instead I decided to play queen a1 check. And now here after king c2 I just freaked. I thought I was lost. I mean, maybe I'm not lost, but I knew that I made a mistake and I just lost my concentration completely. But I guess I messed it up pretty well. I played queen a4 check, king b1, and now I just resigned because I thought I screwed up my position completely. But I didn't see the defense. I mean, maybe I saw bishop d5, but I just assumed you had bishop b5 check, and it would just be like leading to a clearly better position for white, and I think it is, Nefedov said I resigned in an equal position, but I don't think it's that clear. I think that in reality, white's probably better here. No, this is not that easy, If you have this position with black against Magnus, you're probably going to lose. So I don't know, my resignation was inappropriate, but I didn't think that this worked. If I don't have bishop d5, then I don't have anything. I'm just down to exchange here without enough compensation. Again, we could try this type of thing with like rook c6. I was basically that I thought I had thrown away a win, but in reality I didn't have an easy win. Alright guys, let's move on. This was a long analysis of this game. Let's do the Yabatas game next. We've got, let's see how much time. We've got an hour and 15 minutes left in the stream. Yeah, you would lose the position with either side versus Magnus, definitely. Nefedov was very surprised when I resigned. He said, "You resigned in a drawn position," but it's not clear. It was definitely a premature resignation, but I was under the mistaken impression that I had missed a sort of easy forced win. And actually, there was no easy forced win. The best I had was like a clear advantage if I found the optimum, rook c6. Similar thing happened here. I was simply disgusted that he missed the win. Yeah. And I was in time pressure probably too. So at the end of the day, Nefedov 29 cent upon loss. I had 29 cent upon loss. I didn't opt for a draw. It's interesting I had no inaccuracies and no blunders. I had 3 mistakes. So just significant mistakes. No inaccuracies at all. It's either a significant mistake or I don't do it. But thanks for submitting that game, Nefedov. That was good to have a discussion, and it's a fun kind of queen sacrifice there. That was fun to play. Yeah, did not see the final position was a draw. I actually thought I was worse. Everybody thought they were worse. So let me turn this engine off. It's probably freezing my stream. Alright, now we're going to try to find this game from Yabatis. Yabatis here. This is almost a scalp game for analysis. I might have been winning in this game, but it seems somewhat unclear in the end. So I ended up taking a perp. Let's take a look at his classy plays. Okay, I don't know who this guy is. This is Yabatis versus classy plays. I'm not going to request computer analysis. So Yabatis is 2013 in Rapid. That's pretty good. Solid. One of our many subscribers here. Thanks everybody for joining and watching. Thanks Rufus and Doofus for hosting too. We're up to 65 viewers. We're trying to do, you know, some serious game analysis for the guys who are subscribers and girls who are subscribers to the stream. Okay, Yabatis likes to play the English. He's playing c4, e5, knight c3. And then classy plays, again, a player I'm not familiar with. He played bishop b4. This is a move I do have a lot of experience with. Actually from both sides. I played this against Simon Williams probably about 25 years ago with the black pieces. That game lost to posterity. Maybe I have the time control. I have the game score somewhere. It's like me versus, let's see, Simon Williams versus me. Hastings Challengers circa 1993. I'm thinking, no. This would be, I guess, something like Simon Williams versus me, Hastings Challengers 1994, 93, 94. Yeah. Okay, Hastings Challengers 93, 94. Let's see, so 95. This is also me versus Sam Shanklin. I've played many games with both colors in this system. Interesting line here is a5 that doesn't get a lot of coverage, but I think that that's a move that makes a lot of sense. If you want to try something like a little bit offbeat, this move deserves to be played more often, and I think it's a good way of avoiding like kind of main lines. Alright, but bishop c5, and also bishop e7 went through a period of a lot of popularity. Joel Benjamin, some American grandmasters, Mihai Suba, I think. This is back in the 90s. This move was very... Originally, it was bishop a5. This is what Roman really played, and I lost both sides of this position. I lost with black against... I think I lost... Let's see. I lost with black. I probably lost with both colors. I remember I lost to Gingy. I lost to Gingy with white years ago, 30 years ago. In bishop a5, b4, c6. This was a fun variation, but it kind of went out of fashion. It's not that good for black. So bishop c5 is sort of the most common move now. And this is my game with Shanklin. But I played knight f3 against Sam. We had a 2-game mini match in a Grandmaster tournament in Budapest back in like 2008, and Sam won 1.5 to 1/2. This was a draw, and I lost with the black pieces against Shanklin. In the first round, because I couldn't prepare, he was sitting there with his laptop, like looking at my games, 5 minutes before the game started. It's such a disadvantage. Like you're sitting there, and the other guy has a computer, and you don't. You know, and he has like 10 minutes to look at your games while you don't have the ability to prepare for him. It's like you have a duel, and the one guy chooses a longer sword or a sharper sword than you have. I felt it's like a little dishonorable to do that, but other people have defended Shanklin doing that. I mean, I don't know. I think it's really like you're going to a duel and you take the longer, more dangerous sword. But anyways. So Yabatis here played e3. This is not a common move as much as like knight f3. I think that's the most common. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So e3, all right, whatever. Black could just play c6 here. I don't know what's going on there. c6, d4. This is actually kind of an interesting move. I never tried e3. Maybe I'll try this, Yubatis. Maybe you inspired me to try something different. So, one would assume that c6 would be a move there. I mean, c6 is the most logical. So what happens if c6? Then d4? Right. That's a weird position. C takes d5, d takes c5. This is Wesley So against Bacro. And Sadler versus Alcina Leal. I have no knowledge of this position at all. Wow. Queen a5 check. Bishop d2. Queen takes c5. And now queen g4. You definitely want to have your computer handy. Juan Mayado Trevino, who I like. We have a history of going to play bingo together. Spanish I am, and a friend of mine from way back. Yeah, we went to play bingo. It's an interesting night out. It's a good way to pick up the girls. But anyways, all right, back to chess. So knight f6. Now knight back to c3. That's kind of a weird move, Yubatis. I mean, I've seen this done in mirror image positions with like knight c6, knight c3. But I have to say, you know, I think you're losing a tempo here with knight back to c3. So I can't subscribe to knight to c3, man. I just don't think this is a good move. It looks like b4, d4, knight f3. Black is like, thank you for the tempo. We are going to have d4. So still white's okay. Leonid Sandler from Australia against Leko Peter. 1992. The young Leko. Here Leko played bishop b6 and went on to win the game against Sandler. But, I don't know, in a way like bishop b4 seems even more straightforward. Let's see what Stockfish says. Oracle. Wow. Yubatis improving. No, sorry. Classy plays improving on Leko here with bishop to b4. I kind of agree. I think bishop b6 is sort of weird. You know, like that's the weirdest choice. Actually, for the black bishop. So bishop b4, bishop d3. No games from this position. Castles. Now here I think that Nefedov's talking in the chat, so I'm distracted, but it seems like the knight should go to e2. And we're going to get some kind of position that's really, it looks more like an Alyekin's defense or some kind of Nimzo. Rather than, I never would have guessed this was an English opening. Leko was a sharp player. Well, he was much sharper, of course, when he was younger. I mean, he's gotten, you know, much more conservative. And the draw jokes and stuff like that. Leko and Nefedov have a lot in common, actually. But knight e2 would circumvent rook e8 check, obviously, Yubatis. So this is a little awkward here. Bishop e3 and then knight to g4. But maybe black is going too far. It actually looks like an exchange French. After d5, I wouldn't be surprised if this position literally transposes to some kind of exchange French with c4. Can white knight f3, rook e1, king f1? The idea of h4, h5? Rook e8, king f1. No, I don't think so. It's pretty... Black's position is just too fundamentally sound for that to be good for white. I seriously doubt it. That's like a Petrov-Nimzovich system, you know, idea. But I mean, then you'd be like, if you were castled queenside, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of coffee house, Z-Fox, I think. I doubt it. I mean, it seems like white should play knight e2, you know, and just have a normal position. But maybe this is interesting as well, like knight f3 here, and then after d5, which looks like the correct move, we actually transpose. I knew it. It's a Norman Meads' game, and Norman's plays like the c4 exchange. I'll bet you any amount of money that this game was e4, e6, d4, d5, ed, ed, and c4. It's like a direct transposition to an exchange French with c4. Funny because like all that, it was in English with like knight to c3 to d5. I mean, it's ridiculous that we could transpose into a normal opening here. But Mises has a very specific opening repertoire with a lot of trappy, weird systems. Not a player who plays like traditional stuff. I've talked about him on the stream before. He actually had a game with our own Morois last week. I don't know what happened there. But Mises is interesting because he only became a chess player when he was like 17 or 18 years old. What he told me was he learned how to play when he was like 18 and became a grandmaster. I mean, that's pretty insane. How many grandmasters do you know, like literally didn't know how to play until they were 18? That's crazy. But anyways, another one of my stories. So knight g4, it looks like black is losing track of development here. So maybe he realized that if he takes with a knight and you take with a rook on e3, white has an awful lot of pieces in the game. Like, would it surprise anyone if white had some sort of winning combination here? If you look at the rook, the bishop attacking h7, the knight coming into like e5. No one's going to be surprised if something bad happens to black in this position after grabbing a pawn, right, Ubatis? So he decides to try to do it the other way. But I mean, even so, at the end of the day, white has a lot of pieces developed and black doesn't. So I'm not surprised if white finds something here. I guess the first thing we would look at would be queen to b1. And we try to snatch that pawn on h7. I mean, this is kind of materialistic, but worthy of consideration. Yeah, I'm afraid the bishop might get trapped out there. Who knows, though, This type of position, z-fox gets his king on f1. But, I mean, this is, like, equal material, We sacked the pawn and got it back, and then white's slightly ahead in development, but black has the bishop pair. It's probably about equal. Not inspiring. So does Spectacular Camel have anything better? Let's say he played queen e2. Yeah, this makes more sense. I don't know if maybe it's better to go to e2, but you also control g5, so maybe you have knight g5. So look at the mobilization, like all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every single piece is in the game. FIDE Masterman has just one piece developed, but he has the bishop pair long term. You enjoy the community and talking to people from different chess cultures. You're happy to tolerate me. Nefida was obviously, drinking too much tonight. I can't believe his wife is letting him get away with that. On a Thursday night of all time. Thursday night. Do you have a long weekend? Do you have a long weekend off or something, Pavel? Are you still home for the holidays? Now, what do we got here? Let's turn on the oracle. I mean, I think, yeah, white's development lead outweighs the value of the bishops. h6, very afraid of knight g5. What else? So this looks catastrophic for black, actually. It's starting to look catastrophic. I guess h6 was a serious mistake. Too automatic. And black has no development already. I mean, are you threatening anything here? It's not like you have a sacrifice, like a Greco sacrifice on h7 or something. So FIDE Master here should probably maybe just play like d6 or just develop his pieces somehow. I mean, I don't know. What does the oracle say? Bishop e7, my gosh. d5. So Ubatis already has a huge advantage. It may be already too big a hole for black to dig himself out here. 95. And this is horrible. This is horrible. f6, yeah, nice. Nice white squares around the black king there. So we're looking for some sort of forced win at this point, but it's just quite, it's kind of eluding white. I'm looking at queen f2. This is a cool move, queen f2. But queen f2, f takes e, queen f7 check, king h8, and then queen f5. It looks fatal. It's mate, basically. But I'm not sure. I mean, the idea with queen f2 would be to get to queen f5, but he can probably defend somehow. So the idea is, yeah, we don't have anything direct though. You know, it looks like. I mean, I think Yabata's move knight g4 based on a sacrifice might be good. Yeah, black can play like d6 and just survive there. You know, that's the thing. We have all these pieces, we need to use them optimally. I mean, there are many moves. I mean, even like bishop g6. I don't know, bishop g6 actually gets in the way though. So it's hard to come up with a concrete win for white here. Knight g6. There are a lot of good moves. It's difficult to suggest what the best is. Okay, knight g4. And now black plays d5. Feels like we have to sacrifice something. I'm not sure, you know, it works, but knight h6 I agree with. Let's see if the oracle agreed with knight g4. I didn't see a forced win for white. There probably is one. How's our queen f2? Queen f2 is like not even close to the best according to the engine. So there was literally like queen e2. Another way of getting to the long diagonal. A more direct approach to e4. Alright, so the key is the white squares around the black king. If we can get to those white squares with the queen and the bishop battery, then we're winning. Queen e2 is pretty sweet though. Queen e2 and then it's obviously like takes, queen here. Resigns. So you can work this out if you have enough time. But Yabata's okay. This is a natural move to make if you don't have much time. d5, he sacks this piece. It does look like a strong attack. Probably winning if you take. So let's say like takes, queen takes h6. We're threatening lots of stuff. I mean, white has at least a draw here. But my inclination is that it's probably close to winning. Although queen e7, I mean, I'm a little skeptical now. Then rook takes f6. Queen e7, rook takes f6, queen e1 check, bishop f1. And black would be hard-pressed to defend. Let's see what the oracle says. Queen e7. Rook f6, yeah. Queen e1 check. It's over. This isn't going to do anything. I mean, you're just going to be lost. Probably even rook f1 wins there. So, I don't think there's any question he has to not take the knight. King f8. And then the question is what to do now. Some queen transfer. Again, queen e2. Those type of moves may still be very strong. They're kind of slow, though. How about like queen f4? We're not really getting anywhere, though, with queen f4. This is frustrating. I mean, the rook doesn't really work because the black has the bishop h3 all the time, you know? Queen g5 is interesting, yeah. So, frustrating position for white. He just has to be, you know, not expecting to have a knockout blow here. So he played knight f5. Unfortunately, this allows simplification. And after bishop takes, black trades off a dangerous piece. Bishop takes, bishop takes. And now you're simply better in an opposite color bishop type middle game with equal material. I mean, there's a big void around the black king on the white squares. I mean, this looks like you're expecting to lose with black at this point if you're a FIDE master. But he tried to get his pieces out, you know, with knight a6. And here white takes a timeout. Ref, can I have a timeout? With a3. I mean, that's a really weird move to play. It looks like you should be going for the jugular here, Yabatas. And you're like, oh, I'll have a timeout, please, with a3. I'll just call a timeout. There's like this bloody battle, and you're just like, no, let's have a tea time. Hey, everybody, let's just stop fighting and have some tea or something. You're right on the verge of like checkmating him in A3. I think that's strange. So we're looking for like obvious sort of mating ideas with Queen E2, Queen H5. I mean, it's really hard to imagine how Black's gonna save this game. There may be something with Queen E7 and Queen E3 check, though. Like, actually. Another good move for White, ironically, might be to take on D5. But that would be funny, Black could take with the Queen. That's not a joke. Like, pawn takes pawn, queen takes pawn. That's really irritating. That might actually be the best move. We'd like to throw in the pawn takes and weaken Black's pawn on D5, but he has queen takes D5. Bob, take care, man. Oh, that's Gita. I'm sorry. I thought it was Bob. Gita B. Good night. Good night, Ponda. Where's the Pondas? Good night. Good night. Sorry, I forgot his voice. Anyway, we're so entrenched in this analysis. Rook E1. The rook almost plays from F1. But, yeah, we want to violently just kill Black here right away. What would be the best way to do it? Maybe Queen F2 again. I don't know why I'm obsessed with this move, but that would guard D4 and also give us Queen H4. I mean, I don't know. Black's going to migrate the king over to the queen side? Like, how is he going to survive? I don't think we have to worry. Like, Z-Fox is saying the same thing. Like, it blocks the queen from the e-file, maybe. We don't have to worry about the king, though. I don't think the king's getting out. Queen F2 is +1. Maybe more. What does the engine suggest? C5. Well, Queen F2 was among the top moves. Okay, C5 shutting Black down. That's a sandwich. Yeah, so Ubatis was like winning spatially here, even without, you know. But A3 was like, I'll have a timeout. Okay, bishop takes C3. I also like B takes, because it just reinforces our one weakness on D4. I'm worried about that being an aggravation, you know, so I don't care about the C-pawn. We'll just checkmate Black here. We have 3 pieces in the active position. Black's pieces are scattered. No, I mean, this is irrelevant, you know, some double pawn on the queen side. Black's on the verge of getting mated. I mean, again, I think the Ubatis here, it's not bad to play queen takes, but I think that this is a source of counterplay for Black. Whenever he's taking pawn with check, and we're in the process of trying to checkmate Black, that's very irritating. So if we take with the pawn, we never have to worry about that, you know, that pawn hanging on D4. Now it's like a liability. And as you'll see here, Mr. FIDE Master played Queen D5. What a shocker. You see, this wouldn't be a problem if our pawn was on C3. But he goes here now. And actually, Ubatis sacks the pawn with check. Queen takes pawn check, king H1, rook E8. Oh, no. Oh, no. And now Black's pieces are all in the game. He's completely back in the game. Even the knight is about to join the party with, like, knight to C5. This is a tragedy. Queen H5. I'm sure that Black has some resources. Wow. Is he not getting mated here? No, that covers E8 so he can make the great migration over. My goodness. Good defender, huh? Queen H8 check, king F7. Queen H5 check, king F8. Okay, so what if Black were a brave player? No, he can't leave the G7 pawn? Well, he could try to run for it now. I mean, if you're really for $1 million, let's see. You had to win the game for $1 million here. Check, king E7. I mean, this is a little mental, but you know, theoretically, that's not healthy because of rook D1. Ouch. That looks kind of painful. Then it's difficult to find a move for black. That move would pretty much end it right there. I agree with Bob. Queen f2 always felt a little slow. But rook d1 ends it there, so he can't play for a win. He's actually happy that he survived to a draw here. Okay, good game, Ubatis. You were within a millimeter of beating this FIDE master. Very good job. All right, guys, we got almost an hour left, 45 minutes or so to do Ludwig and Merle Dixon. I don't think there's any other submissions. We probably have time for 3 more games. Isn't rook d1 more accurate first? Because when we take force queen to go, queen h8, queen g7, maybe. Maybe so. Alright, so let's go back to our next game. We said, okay, who's first? Merle Dixon is first. A GM game for analysis. Merle's always serious. He's playing his GM game, Anatoly Karpov versus Kasparov. Okay, this is interesting. I don't think I've seen this game. I don't recall this Cambridge Springs. Maybe I saw it 30 years ago and I just forgot about it. It was played prior to my really playing in my first tournament, I think. I think that I played in my first tournament in 1986. But I can't remember now. I get confused about the year that I started, whether it was 1985 or 1986. Believe it or not. So let me turn to this game. Merle's actually playing the black side of the Queen's Gambit Decline Cambridge Springs, so let's look at it from his perspective. Welcome everybody. Don't forget to support the stream. Thanks so much for subscribing. We've got a couple of renewals for subscriptions to the stream today. Also, don't forget that I do upload all the streams to my YouTube channel. If you want to see a replay, they usually get deleted off of Twitch after a while, so you can check out the YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Also, if you guys want to contact me, you can contact me here on lichess. Sparkle Horse is my account. You can also send an email if you're interested in lessons. Occasionally, I have time to take on new students, so videochesstrainer@gmail.com. All right, like basically what we're doing is in-depth analysis, or what we can do as far as in-depth analysis, reasonably time-wise, of subscriber games. But I welcome like submissions like this. Merle is just submitting a famous game between Karpov and Kasparov. Merle Dixon gifted 9 subs in the channel, and he's donating a sub to Z Fox this time. I really appreciate that, Merle. You supported the stream a lot, and like particularly in the case of Z Fox, it's a great addition to the stream because Z Fox is one of those players who I mentioned who, really seems to put a lot of thought into not just blurting out like whatever comes to mind, but it seems like Z Fox's analysis suggestions are particularly thoughtful, so that's awesome. Thank you so much, guys, who resubscribed tonight, and Merle Dixon for another gift sub. All right, so knight f3. This is just not so important, like the opening order of moves. C4, E6, D4, D5. It's a Queen's Gambit declined. A little unusual because, around this time, I mean, Kasparov started to play the King's Indian, but I guess he was, maybe not quite ready. Back in 1985 with the King's Indian. That was coming next. And he was playing, he had played the Tarash defense. He had played different stuff with black. I'm not an authority that much on Kasparov's repertoire. But, okay, this was actually so transposing to a semi-Slav move order. But Karpov plays the sharpest move. I mean, later Karpov would probably have played E3. He would later, in his, middle age, switch to the more conservative E3. Whoa, what is that? What is that? Asterbate, what are you doing? Asterbate just donated 1,005 bits. That's awesome. Whoa. Where did that come from? Acerbate jumps onto the leaderboard with 1,015. Thanks, Acer. Great donation for today. That's terrific, man. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. But anyways, okay, Karpov playing bishop g5. He knew that Kasparov doesn't really play the semi-Slav. I mean, it's also psychology. Like, you know the other guy's repertoire. I mean, Kasparov not prepared to play the black side of a semi-Slav. So he can play something that maybe he wasn't that well prepared to play himself. Obviously, the critical line is like d takes c4, going into chaos. But, you know, if Kasparov doesn't play that, then what are you worried about? Fishrack Cow says, most people remember the line in the same-ish with queen h4 exchanging for 3 pieces. Okay, that's a much later thing, and that was invented by Bronstein, I think. But, you know, that's yeah, later. They had many battles in the Grunfeld, don't forget. The Grunfeld and the King's Indian. Knight on bd7. Okay, e3, queen a5, cd5. The classical variation is knight d2. I don't think that's his literal name, but I'm just calling it that. The most classic move here for white is knight to d2. But this move cd has kind of replaced this as the main line theoretically. 75 viewers, very respectable. Thank you for the sexual reference, Bob. We got to keep the stream a little bit spicy. Erotic chess openings would be the title of my next stream. But c takes d5, knight takes d5. This has all been played between Merle and I in previous Simul/Blitz games. I'm learning this line myself because I always played knight d2 traditionally rather than c takes d5. Queen d2, and now Merle played something like bishop b4. Bishop b4 has become the main line, okay, in modern era. But it looks like in that, you know, maybe in that time this was the main move. I really don't know. You know, 1985. Look, 1985, Vaganyan against Smyslov. So there's some precedent there. But for me, it's weird. I mean, why you're not developing your pieces here and moving the knight again to b6? I agree that bishop b4 seems more natural. And now Karpov kind of wimps out. I mean, I talk about keeping the tension all the time. This move is the antithesis of keeping the tension. This is like literally trading queens into a boring endgame. Just totally sucking the life out of the position. It's really atypical of Karpov. I mean, he's not regarded as a wild player, but he normally wouldn't, like, go into nothing positions where he has zero advantage like this. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I ever like studied this match very much. Maybe a few games from it, since it was right before I started to really get into chess. But maybe Karpov wasn't prepared for this variation, and that's why he chose to play this kind of lame continuation. Knight takes d5. I mean, it seems like black's moving the same pieces twice. You need to keep the pieces on the board here. So bishop d3, and it's a game. It's a sharp game. So sadly, Karpov trades pieces. We trade queens, and then it's like, yeah, boring city. So the real question here, I mean, is which way we make the recaptures. King takes d2 is not absurd. I mean, you know, the famous game where Rubinstein was white in the most instructive chess games ever played, in a semi-Tarash where he goes like king d2, king e3, and wins this famous game. I mean, king takes d2 in an endgame is something you ought to consider. But I guess the tactical exactitudes of the position are important. I mean, someone tried this, king takes d2. A Hungarian, of course. Sladgie George, back in 1977. So my assumption would be that, like, you know, we have to watch out for bishop b4 check. But I don't know which way black even recaptures here. What does the oracle say? The oracle says that white has an advantage after king takes d2. It's like plus... Nope, it fell down to 0. It's only equal. But immediately, this guy Schneider, like, recaptured the wrong way. according to the engine. I wouldn't take with a c-pawn either. That seems strange. Maybe with the knight, but I would... Yeah, this would probably be the most normal. Alright, so Karpov could take with the king there. That's never been tried except in that one game. So Karpov recaptures with the knight. It probably had some precedent. Like there was another game you saw there where Vaganyan, you know, had a game. But I don't see that in the list here. So I don't know. Uwe Bonch would later play this with white and make a draw. I mean, every game's a draw, basically. So which way do you recapture? I mean, if you recapture with the piece, then white has a strong center and a lasting advantage. If you recapture the c-pawn, I think, you know, there's the c-file to worry about. If you recapture the e-pawn, you get a dynamic position. You know, in a sense, the pawn structure is imbalanced at least. So Kasparov takes this way. Probably that was played before. Now, it's difficult to say who's better here. Between computer A and computer B, it would probably be a draw. And this move looks pretty strong. Grabbing space on the queen side and not preventing, you know, preventing basically white from any kind of thoughts of a minority attack with b4, b5 in advance. It's like a preparatory prevention plan, and also maybe grabbing space. A little Magnus Carlsen-like. Karpov played the horrifying a4 now, but it's a who can blame him, you know? I have to say I don't really like a4 at all. You know, I'm going to say it again. I don't like a4 for white here. It looks like a horrendous weakness on the b4 square. Maybe we let him play a4 and then we play a3 and it's not so bad. But why are we playing a4? a4 looks grotesque. Yeah, the computer plays a3 and then white is okay. a4 was terrible. I don't know, Karpov was just... This is the match that went on forever, right? That had to be canceled. So... Man... Ponda is frowning. One of those vibrating devices triggered by donations. Why is Ponda frowning? What are you guys talking about? Someone on sound, welcome. Now this is a really bad move. I mean, he seriously weakens the b4 square. I mean, I don't know why he did that. Obviously after like a4 you play a3 and there's no entry for black, really. And a3, you can play a3 right away if you want to, just stop bishop b4. I mean, this is... Some guy played rook c1. I mean, that's kind of a weird move. Honestly, like, is there something happening on the c-file here? Because I don't get rook c1 either. I mean, it looks like white's only plan would ultimately be to play like f3, king f2, and maybe try to play for e4 or something. I would think like something like... That's not a ridiculous plan, is it? What if we do f3? Equal. f3, king f2, or maybe castles, and just hang out, you know? And it's okay. Looks like Karpov creates his own problems here with a4. Kasparov immediately jumps in there, king e2. Check. I'm not sure about this move, though. I mean, is provoking f3 really a good thing? Kind of a strange move. He's going to try to trade pieces here. Keep in mind, this was 1985. I mean, actually, nobody was 2800 then. h4, castles kingside. Karpov goes for it. b3 now. I mean, h5 seems worthy of consideration. I don't really know if white's worse anymore, though. Because Karpov... I mean, Kasparov's plan is so weird. Like, playing bishop g4 check, for me, was very strange. I don't know why he gave Karpov all the space. I don't think that black and white, you know, both played that great in this game. I was criticizing this move earlier. I again don't understand what's happening on the c file. I mean, maybe he's envisioning something like e4, and then eventually his knight can come to c4, and I don't know. Okay, this move is a move I understand now. Now I understand what's going on. Now I understand rook c1. Wow. Is it that big of a deal, though? I mean, black gets in c5. We're not going to take it, clearly. So maybe rook c1 made sense. It was like he saw ahead. c5. We're not going to take it and let him play knight d7 and then smoke our king with like knight c5 and all these terrible things. We're just going to keep the status quo. Bishop f4 here. And then the c4 starts to become an issue. Sort of subtle play by Kasparov. Yeah, I mean, why do we have to play d takes c5? Is there a serious threat now? I mean, is bishop takes b2 a serious threat? Is c4 a threat? These are the questions we have to begin to answer. Obviously, Kasparov could play like rook c6 and double up real fast, and it starts to get ugly. So Karpov takes, and then knight d7, and it starts to look a little bit ominous because the white king isn't 100% safe. But Anatoly gives up a pawn. c6. Clog the c file. Very Magnus Carlsen-like for black. b takes c, rook h d1, check, and now king c2. You don't expect Kasparov, you know, at that era to outplay Karpov in an endgame. You would think it would take something more dynamic. Not that Kasparov isn't a great endgame player, but it's not his like forte. Whereas like Karpov is more of an endgame specialist, so it's kind of funny. Just a subtle game, and like a slight advantage for black. The white king was bounced around. Where does the thing really fall apart here? The white king's safety. Even now, like, neither side has ever been more than 0.8 better according to this engine. And this is Kasparov-Karpov, Kasparov-Black from 1985. I think the whole game, like, basically look at that line. Like, white or black never had even a pawn up advantage. It looks like Karpov must just made like a howler here. So he's hanging on, like Karyakin or something. Karyakin versus Carlsen. Something like that. And then e4. Whoa, where did that move come from? I mean, e4 seems a bit strange. How do we suddenly play this aggro move? But he's trying to simplify. Trying to force the simplification of the position with e4. Maybe not so bad. Kasparov uncompromising d4. And one has to imagine time pressure was setting in. But in those days, the time control was pretty long. In 1985 match, it was a long time control. So there was plenty of time. But still, Karpov would probably have gotten in time pressure. And then, under pressure, he here made some sort of blunder with knight b1, losing the game. So, d3 check. So instead of knight b1, I mean, he's under a lot of pressure. It's not easy to find a move. But apparently he could just simply defend the pawn, and it's not, let's see what the oracle says. It's not that simple. I mean, what do you got? Rook b8, d3 check, bishop c3. You know, this looks invasive, for example, but rook a2, and you're just kind of, well, what are you going to do? You know, there's no immediate knockout for white, you know, to worry about here. It doesn't look crushing. This is like +1. So Karpov just makes a crazy move, most likely in time pressure here. d3 check, king here. He missed something, but it's pretty weird. I mean, he's losing material by force. Knight d3 check. This is a strange blunder. So we got 92 viewers. Where are these viewers coming from? Good to see you guys. We're going to be streaming for another half an hour here. We're just analyzing Karpov-Kasparov. This was one submission for the stream from 1985, just before I started playing tournament chess. Kasparov just outplaying Karpov in kind of a simple endgame. where white played the game rather passively. He did have a moment of aggression with like g4 and h4, but not what you would expect to see from like Karpov-Kasparov. Look at this. Karpov, no inaccuracies, no mistakes. Let me turn off the engine before it freezes the stream. But check it out. This is crazy. I mean, I don't know who analyzed this, but Karpov, Anatoly, no inaccuracies, no mistakes, one blunder. Wow. That's a big blunder, too. Damn, it would have been like perfect if Karpov hadn't played knight b1. Like a perfect game according to the engine. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. Asterbait with 1,000 bits donation. 1,005 to be exact. Lots of subscriptions and renewals today for the stream. I'm streaming 6 days a week. Today's our subscriber stream. If you don't know me, International Master William Pascal, but Kasparov here with 7 cent upon loss. No inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. I'd like to run that again and see if that's really true. But I mean, obviously he didn't make any blunders. It's hard to believe no inaccuracies at all. But old school Kasparov playing the Queen's Gambit. Later he would start playing the King's Indian and the Grunfeld constantly in the next match, and it was a different Kasparov. Anyway, guys, our next game we had submitted by Ludwig AC, who is a new subscriber, relatively new subscriber to the stream. So Ludwig AC says, "Hi William, thank you for your hard work. I have a game if you have the time for analysis that is pretty exciting. I was down a piece but managed to find a great tactic to win in the end. Please let me know in what areas I need to improve." Okay, that's going to be hard, based on one game, Ludwig, but we'll try to get you the input that we can. Don't know if this is the proper way to submit a game. Absolutely. So on the subscriber streams on Thursdays, I do once a week. Yeah, so submit them here on lichess.org, and we get to as many as we can every Thursday. Guys, we're going to be streaming. Yeah, no inaccuracies and gets to -1. That's not impossible, War of Ideas. Very, very slowly, consistently making tiny, infinitesimal mistakes. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. That's definitely possible. But again, I'd like to run it again and see if we came up with that same analysis. It could be like a mobile phone analysis. I mean, I don't know how it works. I'm not an authority. But let's take a look at this game from Ludwig AC. I mean, if it's a server analysis. Wow. That's a graph. That's a different graph. I don't want to see that graph because it gives me too many hints as to what's happening. Let's just see. Oh no. Did he say what color he was? Wait, Ludwig, wait. Wait, alright, which color were you? You're just going to have to tell me then. Did you say already? You blundered in the opening. After that, I worked hard to take back the advantage. Okay. You blundered in the opening. He's white, okay. Yeah, so you get this weird opening, e4, e5, knight f3, queen f6. My old friend Boris Basinski, who was a FIDE master, kind of journeyman player, passed away years ago, but he used to play queen f6 on move 3, like against the Spanish. I mean, I think the later in the game it goes, the more playable the move is. And I remember International Master Ed Formanek playing this move against no less a player than Alexander Ivanov. Formanek got crushed. But, queen f6 is something similar. The problem is that queen f6 is even more exposed than on e7. And there are variations with bishop g5, which I think is important here. So what I recommend to people, though, is to try to open the position and destroy the center. I mean, d4 is the move that makes the most sense. The problem with that, I think, is that we have to be careful we don't just simply transpose to a scotch. You guys might or might not know that, like, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4. I mean, queen f6, this is like a major variation of the scotch, considered to be like fully playable for black. So if we play d4, we don't want to just simply transpose to a scotch. We want to try to take advantage of black somehow. It's a little hard to believe this has never been played, but queen f6 is... I have the engine, not the engine, but the opening explorer turned on. How many games are with queen f6 played by masters, though? None. Wow. That's shocking, though. Not one master in this opening explorer master database or whatever you want to call it. Not one master level game played with queen f6. You'd think someone would have experimented with it. Probably if you look in ChessBase or some commercially available like chess database, you come up with a few. You probably come up with a few games. You know, maybe not masters, or maybe like one side's a master. Maybe the other guy was like, the problem with the Opening Explorer is that like you lose games like one guy is 2199 and the other guy is 2700, and the game's not in the Opening Explorer because it didn't meet the criteria of both players being 2200 and above. So you've got like Aronian against the 2199, maybe a really, really good game, and it didn't make the database. Or maybe it's just an old game or something like that. So I'm a little surprised there's no games here. Knight c3 is a good move. Black plays c6 question mark. I mean, you can give it a question mark if you want to, but it's easily the most logical move on the board. Now, the problem, I remember I've seen this before. The problem for black is that after c6, d4, you played this correctly, d6, pawn takes pawn, there's a cute variation here. And the point is that after pawn takes pawn, bishop g5, queen d6, I believe it's this. If I'm not mistaken, knight takes e5. Because obviously queen takes d5, queen d8, mate. So the question would be queen takes d1 check, rook takes d1, f6. And then something like bishop c4. It's like a David Bronstein position. Pawn takes e5, rook d8, mate. It's another pretty variation. But I'm wondering, after bishop c4, maybe you can, well, I mean, this looks probably good for white, among other things. I don't know, you know. I mean, it doesn't look really good for black. So, although there might be another way for black to play, for white to play. I mean, maybe you have something else, like just take, and this. This also looks kind of problematic, although maybe it doesn't work because of like bishop c7, knight takes e5, and now this move actually loses. This move might actually like lose for white. So I don't know. I think this is just not trustworthy for black. So basically after this, so that's why c6 is a mistake. But I don't know what, you know, you want. What do you expect to play here for black? Objectively, like knight c6 and then knight d5 and queen d8, you know, and that's the best that black can do, I guess. Theoretically. That's the best you can do. I mean, unless you want to play something really weird like this, but I don't think that that's good. Maybe. You can try it. Certainly there's some suspicious points in black's position. This square, d4 might still be good. Anyways, let's see what happens. So, black played c6, you played d4, and then he took. But I think this is, you know, this is a little bit weird. Because now we're giving up the center, but we don't have any development. Black didn't play like knight c6. It's a bad scotch, where you played c6 instead of knight to c6. Knight takes d4 question mark according to the computer, but you know, if you're a human, I mean, I think the one thing you don't want to do here is like queen takes d4. This allows black to have like almost a playable position. By trading pieces, I think you lose a little bit of white's. It's playable, but white would lose some of his advantage. So you don't really want to trade pieces when black's behind in development and the queen is exposed. According to the computer, I don't know. There's like a bishop g5. And I mean, I would assume black would play queen g6 here. And white has a large advantage, but if you're not a computer, it's not that easy to win. You know, white has a large developmental advantage. Black lost a strong point on e5, but it's not like you're winning immediately. Maybe something crazy like h4. I haven't seen the analysis, but it wouldn't surprise me. No, that doesn't work. You have to move something. Okay, you have to recapture here. So I guess like queen takes d4 with a big advantage for white, basically. All right. So getting back to the game, though, white recaptured on d4. I don't think this is really a bad move. h6. This is nonsense. Just not developing anything. Acerbate, you know, he's shown us some games in positions like this where the opponents play h6 for no reason. After bishop g4, what? Z Fox. After bishop g4, just queen takes d4. Bishop g5, you mean? Yeah, queen takes d4 and just castles queenside, or just develop. So h6, bishop d3, double question mark, dropping a piece, of course. So he just blundered a piece. Any kind of normal move that keeps developing here should be solid, but okay, the engine says like bishop e3. This makes sense if we want to play sharply and try to castle opposite sides, or to play bishop e3, to play queen d2, castle queenside, but it's not necessary to do that. I mean, if black goes bishop e4, you could try to play as sharply as possible with something like this, castles long, but you could also play more conservatively, you know, just like bishop e2. In this sort of position, let's say, I mean, just castles kingside, this double pawns doesn't really, you know, factor in, I think, as much as white strong center, the pawn on e4, f4, e5, better development, the bishop pair, you know, for example. So there's more than one way to play with white. In other words, my judgment here would be that there's more than one way to play and keep an advantage. Yeah, white just blundered a piece, the bishop d3. So let's just see what happened. Queen takes d4, bishop e3, queen f6. Well, pawns are worth 3 tempi. Pieces are worth 9, you know what I mean? So, theoretically, anyway. In practice, maybe it's like 7. How much is a piece worth in terms of tempi? If one pawn is worth 3 tempi, a piece is worth 9. But 9 tempi is usually decisive, so I don't know. This is going to take a lot of compensation for, you know, white to be able to justify being down a piece here. It looks like, I don't know, was it a blitz game? Bishop b4, f4 is a good move, d6. And then this move. I mean, this is like, yeah, I mean, you're too hesitant here with bishop d2, I think. You probably need to just keep moving forward. Queen e1 comes to mind. You're not trading queens under any circumstances in this position. If bishop takes c3, b takes c, and you have some development to give you practical chances in a fast time control to save the game, probably. So, no, I mean, we're going to analyze this seriously, even though he's down a piece for nothing. You know, let's see if he put up the maximum resistance. Queen e2, developing move. The computer goes for the jugular with e5, and I think that's something you should have seriously considered. He can't recapture twice, or can't capture twice because of rook e1. So this would have caused black a little bit of discomfort. This is a routine developing move, and not bad. And now black played queen d8, wasting more time. So, again, a kind of routine move, rook on a to e1, when you could try to break through with e5. I mean, again, I don't think there's anything 100% clear here, but now, I mean, he can't really take, or can he take? Maybe he can take and play king f8. I mean, this doesn't look so bad for black, actually. If he can play king f8, he'll probably be fine. So, I don't know. I mean, you might even want to take with the pawn here and try to pile up some pressure against f7. But objectively, you're never going to have quite enough compensation for this piece. Rook here, you know, and it almost looks like black is going to come under an attack when he castles kingside. The pawns are just squashing down like on f5 and e5, and then suddenly it may not matter if you're down a piece, if you have all your pieces mobilized and the black pieces are just stuck on h8 and, or excuse me, a8 and b8. I mean, he's basically playing rook and knight odds here, you know. So if you go back in the history of chess 150 years ago or 100 years ago to those games you see in the books where, you know, this world champion or famous player played knight odds against a beginner or bishop odds against a beginner, you know, they got away with that basically, and they won some brilliant games playing, you know, piece odds against, you know, maybe amateurs who were reasonable. That's basically what you're doing here. You're giving piece odds against a fellow amateur. And f5, it looks pretty good to me. I mean, you have threats. The computer says it's dubious, but I mean, the breaking up his kingside with this, immobilizing his pieces. I mean, it totally seems logical. And then black played f6, and now his king is trapped in the center. Queen h5 check, question mark, according to the computer. Well, it makes a lot of sense to trap him in the center. The move order is bishop c4, threatening queen h5, so the execution. So, you know, the threat is stronger than the execution here. You freeze him, but you threaten to crush him with queen h5. This is slightly stronger. And one would assume that black could try to evacuate, well, should try to evacuate with something like queen c7 and walk away over here. You know, and maybe the truth is that it's kind of a murky situation now. But it looks like white has compensation on a practical level. Yeah. So queen h5, not really fully thought out, because after this he can cover the mating threats on f7 with bishop or queen to e8. Just a half-baked attack, and now he defends easily. So here you are, you're again in that same situation again, where you're basically a piece down without anything concrete at all. Black trades pieces. This is a good move because actually I saw this. I mean, knight e2, knight d4, knight f4 into particularly e6. So this guy just hacks off your knight, which would have been a good piece in this locked structure. Bishop takes. Still, there are problems for black. You know, piece sacrifices, pressure on d6, e5 sacrifices. I mean, if this was like Steinitz against No Name, white would probably win. He needs to play knight d7. Get the knight to e5, and all the pieces are in. Plays this, and then bang, e5. This is frightening, you know. So nice sacrifice, and now another sacrifice is required. I would think even rook takes would be interesting. Rook takes, pawn takes, and f6. Looks dangerous. Even this, let's see what the computer would say. It's coming around to our way of thinking. White is winning after the Stockfish got to depth 19. It took it up to 19. Yeah, plus 2.4. Once you really get the computer going like 20 moves deep. It took it that long to realize, though. You made, you know, I think the computer, or I guess the computer recommended bishop takes e5. This is like a lower lower volume sacrifice, only a bishop and then f6. And this is also extremely strong. But at the end of the day, you know, I don't know which sacrifice was actually better. Stockfish on depth 19 here is +1. It's coming out about the same, about +2 for white. It's funny. You have your choice of sacrifices, but instead of doing that, you didn't pull the trigger. Didn't pull the trigger, and you hesitated with rook f3. It gives black a chance to shore up his position, right? There's no threat. Just no threat here. It's defended and covered by the queen on c7. So we're running out of ammunition now. We've got 4 pieces mobilized to 3 pieces almost. But the problem is those pieces are going to get in the game eventually. You can play knight a6 at the very least. And then the rook will help to defend laterally, maybe rook d8. So white's running out of ammunition. b5 here, queen e7, and then he's ready to play maybe knight d7. You got a question mark by the computer with rook d1. I mean, what are you supposed to play here? I mean, rook d1 looks like a perfectly logical try. There is no threat, though, unfortunately. I can't even see... If you had 2 moves in a row, I mean, you could take his queen or something, but I don't, you know... It's useful to use that kind of thinking, like, what would I do if I had 2 moves in a row? But you literally can't generate any threat here, it seems. I think it's just resignable. Now he eliminates one of your better pieces, and then trading pieces, though. Still black is tied up. Not so easy in a blitz game or something. This is a good move. He finds another threat, but he takes, you know, takes away the e6 pawn. So now you're just lost. You're down a piece. Black's king is safe, and it's basically over. Still, there's no premise from which we can really see any sort of hope for white here, other than an outright howler, some kind of absurd blunder. This game went on quite a long ways. I mean, tried to open some lines, and he eventually allowed this tactic that still doesn't work. Check, another check, king h6, and then here. And still black's given up some material, but he's absolutely winning. c5. Wow. I'm just seeing what the readout is. I didn't think this would be winning. So you have a win here. I didn't see it. Rook d1. Rook d1 just simply wins a piece. It's very, very simple. You were focused on the king, but you were simply winning a piece with rook d1 there. Well, it goes to show never resign. And you've got a mate in 6 here. H takes g5, rook takes g5. Winning the queen. Actually, winning the queen and checkmating black. It doesn't matter. There's a couple different ways to mate there. You always mate with the smallest piece. That's like the old master style. But going back to that position, you know, it was sort of shocking that he's in so much danger suddenly out of the blue. Because he played one inaccuracy with c5. Wow. Black never imagined he was in that much danger. But queen d4 check, king h1. And I mean, still, you're threatening rook d1 here. So what would black's next move be in this position, by the way? What would black's defense against rook d1 be? The stream is just ending now. I'm literally going to be shutting it down in like 5 minutes. So we're going to kind of do the closing of the stream here. A Fish Rat Cow added a game. Well, we can do 5-minute analysis, Fish Rat Cow. We'll take a look. All right, let's take a look. Fish Rat Cow, what is this game as far as colors here? It's our last game for today. Fish Rat Cow, what color were you? I hope you're not playing the London system. Okay, so d4, e6, bishop f4. You're white, okay. Well, it's better than what black did. The London system, which I hate, but the hate makes it stronger. You know, that's what Nicholas Sedlak said to me when I was like, you know, why do you play the London system? He was like, well, I play the London system because people play badly because they hate it, you know. Basically, that was the general summary of the discussion. His opinion was that people don't respect the London system, and that's why it does so well. It makes people angry and tilt when you play like the London system. So he's had very good results with it. I recommend his book on the London system, but I don't really recommend the London system. It's a little bit, it's too passé. It's been a fad for too long. Anyways, all right. So d4, e6, bishop f4, knight e7. A creative approach by black here. E3. The standard setup. I mean, black's putting the knight on e7 is pretty strange. Black could try to do like a hippo, I guess, with d6 followed by g6 and bishop g7. So I mean, I don't know. I don't particularly like e3. You know, I think if black's gonna play stupid moves like knight e7, then you should probably try to think a little more outside the box. Maybe if black's gonna play so hyper modern like this, you need to seriously consider branching out, you know, and even playing e4 or maybe something a little bit more aggressive than e3. If black's going to play absurdly hyper-modern chess, you might have to go outside your comfort zone a little bit. I mean, you're going to have to go outside your comfort zone a little bit instead of just making like routine quote-unquote London system moves. So e3, knight g6, bishop g3, d5, and okay. Black's basically playing with the knight on a funny square. You know, if you want to play crazy here, you could play h4. Our Ponda's like pet move, original Ponda, who's in Budapest, Hello. Ponda's favorite move is h4. It's almost always good when the opponent has a knight on g3, g6, b6, or b3. You can always do this, and it's always good, but it's a crazy way to play, and it's not obligatory. Instead, you play the stonewall type of move with f4. For me, this is a little bit weird. In this particular position, you have some basis for controlling e5, but I'm not crazy about f4. So I think that c4 is a good move, playing in a standard kind of Queen's Gambit style. h4, trying to take advantage of the knight. Or just routine development with knight f3. You know, I think that this is a bit strange. f4, f5, the symmetrical. This is the last game for our stream, guys. We're going to be back tomorrow. It'll be 12 noon. It'll be Fast Friday, so we're playing 5+3 casual blitz against everyone in the audience who challenges us with 100 games or so. Basically established accounts on lichess. Casual blitz 5+3 tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time. Please be there, guys. Thanks for the support. We're just going to finish up this game quickly. Knight on bd2. So you're playing an enhanced stonewall attack with the bishop outside. We had 97 viewers. We're down. Oh no. Bob created 96 new accounts today on Twitch. That's amazing, Bob. Thank you for your help. Knight on bd2, knight f6, bishop d3, bishop d7. So finally h4. But I think this is a weird situation to do the h4 because he has good control of g4 and h5 in particular. And your bishop is becoming, increasingly pawn-like on g3. So I don't think you should do h4. It's already enough, you've got too many pawns on dark squares as it is. I think that in fact you might consider h3 and putting a few pawns on white squares and trying to play for, in fact, this break, with g4 down the line. To break with g4 down the line might actually be a good idea, but h4 looks a little weird. My advice is h4 or f4, but not both. You probably need to choose. Bishop e7, now h5. Okay, he let you play this now, so now he's kind of let you get away with something. You just have a space advantage. h5 might turn out to be a good move, and this is a catchphrase that I use, but it's true. Bad moves become good moves if they're left unpunished. And I think that's the case with this move h4. Knight f8, h6. It's a choice, to play h6. There's a downside that it locks up, but at the same time you have a lot of space. The pawn on h6 could actually be dangerous. You're going to need to open the game on the other side. Now your bishop became a great piece. Make your bishops great again in 2019. MBGA. I'll get some blue hats printed up or something. So bishop h4, knight to g4, bishop takes e7, queen e7, queen e2, and then obviously Fish-Rat Cow is thinking of castling queenside here. It's not clear though. I like the flexibility of being able to castle either side. Castles queenside, king b8, knight e5. Okay, knight e5. I mean, admittedly his knight here is pretty tough. Now I'm opposed to, I don't want to, the red hats aren't really our style. I don't think so, Bob. I'm not a red tie kind of guy. King b8, knight e5, knight takes e5, and then, I don't know, like, this knight on d2, you got to do something with him. I wonder if you could consider playing maybe knight g5, being a little bit more patient, and trying to find, there are a lot more jobs out there. So, there's millions of new jobs, apparently. Knight to g5, and there's a new job for this knight on d2 going to f3, and then the other one can go to e5. Maybe we can try to get new jobs for both knights. Knight takes e5, d takes e5. Okay, so now black has the c5, black has a break with g5. Maybe if he could get his pieces out, his position wouldn't be that bad. At the moment, white has a lot more space. c5. Uh-oh. So there's a decision to make here. c4. Could also play c3. It's considerably more passive, but notice the bad bishop. Another catchphrase. But Lasker said the pieces that are blocked in all the game, they tend to come out very angry and very powerful. I think that's going to be the case of this bishop. It was very bad, but now, make your bishops great again. The catchphrase of a final game for today, guys. We're going to be out of here. King b1, Knight d7, all the black pieces getting back in the game. I mean, I don't mean to like worship your opponent here, but he did a good job of coming back from nearly, a very, very bad situation. C takes d5, and now, I don't know, black should consider taking with the pawn. It's scary to allow a protected passer on e5, but he should consider recapturing. Jake, I'm out of here, man. My stream is over, so you can challenge me tomorrow, 5+3 Blitz at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to take on all challengers. Here white plays bishop c4, and we've lost most of our advantage now with white, it would seem. But you still have some hope of getting a knight to d6. So that would be something to work on. And that's what he does. Black needs to think about this serious problem now. I mean, I would be bailing out with like knight b6, knight c8. It removed that guy from the board. Juicebox Wizard, what's up, man? Good morning. We're just finishing the stream. The bad bishops. Right. I'm sure there's a lot of jokes about that at the Amateur Team Championship. Rook d3, a6, rook b3. Good job zoning in on that weak point. He's literally forced to move the b pawn, then he loses the a6 pawn. Whoa. I mean, what happened here? Just go back for a second. So you got the knight to d6, and then black needs to think very fast. So if he had thought a little faster, I mean, if he had played this immediately, in other words, recognize the danger, how strong this is. So you recognize the danger. If he was able to play this move at knight c8, before the knight on d6 becomes a crusher, then he would survive. So he really recognized the danger too much later. It's one move too late. Bang, nice move. Now maybe here black had some resources, but he missed it. He plays this a6 move, which is too routine, and now suddenly it looks very, very, very problematic for black. I mean, knight b6 is like horrible looking. He can sack the exchange. Actually, on a practical level, maybe this is the right try. Like rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and I mean, obviously white is up the exchange with a scary pawn on h6, but in a practical game, there's some hope. Anyways, so what happened in the game? So b6, and the a6 pawn is just falling. That looks unhealthy. It's unhealthy for black, definitely. I mean, between this on the king side and the queen side falling apart, black's probably losing. And now white doesn't trade queens, which was a good, I think, a practical decision. I don't need support. We definitely need more support for the stream. I think Juicebox was here. I think he's aware of that, Bob. Bob's causing trouble. A bit too occupied usually to maintain the lead. I don't think he's doing it for the competitive side of things. Queen b5, king c7, rook d1. And this is nice, the way you got all the pieces in the game. So it looks like you're coming together here. I mean, this break never quite materialized with, like, e4. If you had g3 in, you'd probably have e4. And if black trades queens, maybe he can... Yeah, he tries to trade queens. Maybe a4 rather than a5 is an idea. Oops, sorry guys. I just jumped forward. So I was thinking here, does it better to go queen a4 or queen a5? Thank you guys for the support though. I really appreciate the donations we've got. We're gonna be back tomorrow, 12 noon, and also for the subscriptions, obviously, a couple of renewals, a new subscriber today, some gift subs, great, and lots of viewers, which is really coming along. So thanks so much, guys. We're gonna be back tomorrow. We're gonna run down the rest of this game, queen a5. So do you have to trade queens here? You know, last time you avoided the exchange of queens, and this time you allowed it, which seems kind of inconsistent to me, although maybe it's about the time situation. It was like a blitz game. On paper, I'd like to avoid the exchange of queens, but it looks like he's gonna kind of annoy you with... I actually thought this queen a4 was a little more logical, because he's on the rook. White's winning. It's going to take some work. But at least in the end game, he's not going to get checkmated with the queens off the board here. Thank you, Dim, for the support. Another 100 bits. Yeah, so that's my first piece of advice for this endgame. You probably wanted to keep the queens on. I don't know if you could objectively keep the queens on. The thing is, he's got a good king, and he's got an extra piece in that sense. You better play g3 and e4. I would have already played this at some point, like g3 and e4. Just trying to chip away at black's control. Try to chip away at the knight on d5. It looks like you're kind of moving back and forth without a clear plan of what to do. And this is like a really weird move. I mean, b4, essentially giving him what is a protected passed pawn on c4. Probably a blitz kind of mistake. And now you have a tangible weakness yourself on a3. So it's looking like black has taken over this game. And this basically blunders the pawn on e3. It blunders actually everything. You're blundering e3, you're blundering a3. So it started to fall apart there in the early endgame, the mid-endgame stage. It just looks like white's falling apart here. Yeah, it's over. This wasn't even necessarily his best move, but I think he's winning. I mean, if you could get to that, yeah, if you could get to that pawn over there, you could turn the game around. But it looks too slow. I don't see any way to get there. Okay, you've got knight e8 threatening knight f6. Uh-oh. How fast can he organize, threats here? I have a feeling that there's something happening here. Okay, he just defended with that. This was greedy, taking another pawn. But there's no way in. There's just no way for white to get in. This try, though, ingenious. He has knight d3 check now, which he missed. So knight d3 check, kind of difficult to meet that. I think you're lost after knight d3 check, but this move keeps you in the game, basically. So how does he stop the h-pawn? Now, this is seriously problematic, but probably g5. Knight takes h7. Maybe black's still winning somehow. If he plays g5 and knight g6, yeah, he's still winning. This is the best try. He plays instead knight d3. Is this good enough? Maybe it's good enough. He's taking that pawn, and he's going to go to f7 to stop you. Okay. He's getting to f7, so you have knight g5 now. Are you telling me it's not good enough? Oh my goodness. Knight d3, knight takes h7, knight takes e5, knight g5. Is that winning? Wow, Juicebox, it's your birthday? I'll spend another day in bed clinging on to antibiotics and painkillers. Whoa, mystery illness since New Year's Eve. Dude, that's not good. In a foreign country, you better make sure you're getting proper medical care, my friend. My mom is in the hospital, but she's got, a good hospital here. King takes excuse me. King takes. I'm looking for this position. Okay, knight d3, knight takes h7, knight takes e5, knight g5. And suddenly white is winning. But I feel like, okay, the g5 works. That's definitely good. Is there another way for black to defend this? I don't see it. I'm going to cheat. Apparently some weird move, knight h3. Okay. So he basically misses this, and after knight takes h7, all hell's breaking loose. Yeah. Man. Then he plays knight takes e5 reflexively. And it's like, oh, you played knight f6. Oh my gosh. So knight g5, and there's no way to stop h7, and you take away knight f7. I mean, is this just winning? Just winning for white, right? f4, h7, f3, h8, queen, f2. No. Man, dude, that's like winning. You just missed it. Wow. So it was time pressure, and then you played knight f6, which was a horrible blunder, and knight f7, and white's lost. Oh man, that's painful. Your one golden chance, and you actually missed it. Now it's just over. Yeah. All right, man. Interesting game, though. You made a real struggle out of it. It was crazy. So, guys, we will be back tomorrow, 12 noon, with Blitz 5+3 challenges with all comers who have established accounts here on lichess. So, thanks again, everybody, for basically subscribing, supporting the stream various ways. Acerbate with 1,000 bits today. Yeah, hopefully, Juicebox is going to get better. Anyway, thanks to everybody. Juicebox, best wishes, man. Just make sure you take care of yourself. And we will see you all tomorrow. So thanks again to JCS for being our moderator today. I only want to see where it went bad. Well, it was a back and forth struggle, man. See you guys later. The replacement pawned us here. Bye-bye. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot for everybody for watching the stream. I had a good turnout today. And we will be back at 12 noon Eastern Time tomorrow with Blitz 5+3 casual. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Merle. Hang in there, Juicebox Wizard. And thanks, Acerbate, and all the gang, all of our regulars. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was instructive. And again, we'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon. Thanks to JCS for moderating. And I'm going to get some dinner. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.